Let's continue exploring the universe within art and the art behind farming. I'm your host, Ledoux, and in this episode, we're going to build a vine farm with an automated collection system. Now, sadly, we can't automate the harvesting because you have to use shears in order to collect vines. Even though we have to do it by hand, we can still make it quick and easy to harvest simply by making the vines grow in a cluster so that we can run back and forth harvesting rows and have that go down and be automatically stored into our collection system. The main benefit to building it this way is that you will never accidentally break the seed vines, so you will never ever have to replace the vines, you just let them grow and then cut them down. The build area is going to be 6 blocks deep and as wide as you possibly want to make it. If you want more vines, just make it even longer. The longer it is, the farther down your collection system will be, but you could always use an item elevator to lift the items back up to the surface. The first thing we need to do is place a line of full blocks here in the front, as wide as you want the farm to be. And then 5 blocks behind this frontmost line, we need to build a wall that is 6 blocks tall. So there will be 4 blocks of air in between the front line and the back wall. And it might be a good idea to include light blocks somewhere in the design just to prevent mobs from spawning inside the farm. But vines do not require light in order to grow. Once you get the back wall built, again, make sure it is 6 blocks tall, and then from the back wall, we're going to build diagonally up. And we can extend this out as far as we want to. But I would recommend keeping this 1 block away from the frontmost line. That way, all of the vines actually will grow above our collection system. But if you want to, you could just keep extending this out infinitely. But the farther forward that you build it, you'll eventually end up with this crazy jungle area, where all of the frontmost vines will just fall on the floor and have to be picked up by hand. Only the back rows will actually be above the collection system. So if you want to build it really far forward to get tons and tons of vines and just pick them up by hand, or if you just want to build it flush with your collection system, really, that is all totally up to you. You can always expand this later on if you so desire, simply by adding more diagonal rows. But for now, we're just going to extend these rows all the way across so that our ceiling is going diagonally up 1 block at a time. And again, you do not have to use blocks that produce light because vines do not require light to grow. Then we need to place glass diagonally down from our ceiling, so it'll be the top block of our outer walls. This is because vines cannot grow on glass, and we don't want the vines to grow on the side walls. And technically, if you don't want to build side walls, you really don't have to. All the walls will do is help prevent the vines from bouncing out of the farm, so that more of them just end up in your collection system. So I would recommend building a wall on both sides, just to keep the vines contained, so that more of them fall into our collection system. Now the basic structure is complete. All that's left is the collection system and to place the vines. So you want to place the vines on all of the ceiling blocks. Vines will grow down, but they won't grow up. And so you can just plant a few vines, wait for them to grow, harvest them, and then continue planting them until you get vines on all of the ceiling blocks. Now for the collection system. So on the opposite side from where you want your storage chest to be, we're going to place water source blocks along the bottom of that wall. And then where that water stops, we're going to dig down 1 on the last blocks that have water on top of them, and then dig this out all the way across. And then again, wherever the water stops, on the last blocks that have water on top, we're going to dig those out, and then dig out all the way across, and just keep repeating this until the water is flowing from one side of our platform to the other. When our water has reached the opposite wall, we need to place a line of hoppers in the floor that is directly aligned with the very final row of vines. So right there, right up against the wall. And it's totally fine if the hoppers are actually under the water. It was just a coincidence that my water actually ended right where the hoppers need to be. If the water is flowing above the hoppers, simply place buttons on the wall above the hoppers to block the water from flowing out. But we need to dig up a little bit so that we can actually access our storage system, but then we need a double chest right under here that is aligned with the wall. So not where the water is. Make sure the chest is not where the water is. We want to have hoppers pointed into this chest aligned with the water so that none of the vines will get stuck on top of the chest. And again, just place buttons on the wall above the hoppers to prevent the water from flowing out and over the chest. And from here, you can always add more chests or an item elevator, or anything that you want to do. Just make sure that if the water is flowing above the hoppers, again, that you just place buttons on the wall right above the hopper, just to prevent the water from flowing out over the chest. And with that, we are now totally done, so go grab some shears and wait for the vines to grow. We're going to turn up the random tick speed just so that we can watch them grow really quick. Then we'll go over some tips and tricks on using and harvesting this farm. Shears is the only tool that can actually harvest vines. Silk Touch does not work. Then also, when you're breaking the vines, if you break them from up high, it will break all of the attached vines, but it will only drop a single one. So always mind the vines from the bottom going up. And again, you can't use a Silk Touch axe or a Silk Touch hoe. The only tool that works is shears. So if you have an easy way to get efficiency, it might be worth enchanting a bunch of shears with efficiency. And because all of our seed vines are too far away for us to actually mine unless we jump or jump on top of this front row of blocks, we are safe to just go crazy mining all we want to. You don't have to be very precise because you will never accidentally break the seed vines and be forced to replant them. But ideally, we want to shave off the bottom of each row of vines. So just go back and forth shaving the bottom, and then once you've broken that entire line of vines, just go up by another row. And you will shred through the shears fairly quickly, even if they have unbreaking. So you might want to have an iron farm if you need thousands and thousands of vines. If you need a tutorial for an iron farm, I will be sure to link that here on the screen and in the video description. But if you end up with a bunch of vines in your inventory and don't want to take the time to go throw them in a chest, you can just throw them in the water stream and they will end up down in your collection system. Now it is kind of sad that unenchanted shears don't actually harvest the vines very quickly. Maybe with a beacon, they would be the same as enchanting them with efficiency, because you only need efficiency 2 to actually reach the max speed of harvesting vines. But this also ties into an iron farm, because you need iron to make the shears, and you should always build a trader with every iron farm and vice versa. So if you have an iron farm for the shears, then you should also have unbreaking and efficiency from the villagers. But let me know down in the comments what you are using your vines for. I would love to hear from you, and I would love to know. Personally, I usually build a small version of this under my base, then occasionally when I get bored, I'll just go through and shear all the vines. You know, that way I have vines just in case I ever need them for decoration or for crafting. But that's all we got for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, share, and subscribe. And be sure to leave a comment. Let me know if you have any questions or requests, or if you don't know what to say, just tell me hi. Again, I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again soon. And always remember that you are totally awesome. But above all, don't forget to have fun. Bye-bye!